Red Pill Crypto fam. Today's another video just covering order blocks and how to correctly identify them. Let's start with the presentation I prepared with what is an order block. So they are a series of candles where institutional money whales fill their position by limit or market orders and reverse the price. How I trade these order blocks. When I want to scalp trade and I don't see a higher term time frame setup, I can look for the 15 minute to the 1 hour order blocks for about 0.5% to 1% take profit, and then I'm putting my stop loss at entry and letting the rest run to my next target. When I want to swing trade off an order block, I'll look for the monthly, weekly, daily, down to the 4-hour time frame. Those tend to give really good day trades and even swing trades. I mark them out after I see an engulfing candle or engulfing candles, so multiple, one or multiple, just like this example here where we have sellers getting aggressive at the low, price pushes up. What we expect is when price comes back down to retest this bullish order block, we're expecting price to continue up in the direction that it shot up with the engulfing candle, and vice versa. If buyers are getting aggressive here at the high, we see big sellers, whales, come in and sell price down with an engulfing candle with high volume, and then as price approaches up to that order block, we're looking for it to sell off. This is where we'll look for our short, on the retest of the order block. So what makes a strong order block? A strong reversal of price action, large engulfing candle or candles, high volume on the reversal. High time frame order blocks make strong order blocks, so monthly, weekly, daily, 4-hour time frame order blocks. Changes in market structure after the block has been formed. So again, what we can see here is we have this bullish order block where sellers get aggressive at the low, price shoots up. Now let's say this is a daily or a 4-hour candle. Inside on these lower time frames, we're going to see changes in market structure. So consolidation before the order block. So for example, if we have a little bit of a range here, and then we get sellers getting aggressive at the low, consolidation was here, and this was before the order block, and then price shoots up. Okay. Deviations away from the order block, which essentially means an engulfing candle, one or more, and order blocks as swing points and breakouts. So this would be an example of an order block at the low. So in case of a breakout, essentially what we would want to see is if this was our consolidation range right here, let's say the order block was right in there and this was an order block. I know that's an order circle, but let's just assume it's an order block, and we would want to see the breakout happen right there. So consolidation before the order block. So here would be consolidation before the order block, engulfing candle. Deviation away from the order block is still the engulfing candle, and then order blocks at swing points and breakouts. So this would be an example of an order block at a breakout. So then what we would expect is for price to come back and retest right at that breakout, and when it does, then we expect continuation. Okay, so this is an example of an order block and how I would pull it on a chart, which we'll get into on the monthly, daily, weekly, and we'll even do some 4-hour ones. But how I essentially pull this is I use this rectangle tool that you can find, I think it's this one right over here in your left pane in trading view. Rectangle right there, put a star on it, add it to your toolbar. And essentially how you're going to pull this is what you're going to do is you're going to take your rectangle tool, you're going to take it from the body of the candle, so where the candle opened to where the candle closed, and then what you can do is get in there. Now you see how I made the candles. Get in there with your rectangle tool, and what you'll have is you'll have a zone where you can see pretty much where your order block is sat, so that when price comes back to it, you're well and prepared to take your trade. So same thing goes when you're wanting to use this for a bearish order block. So if we have a block here where buyers got aggressive, engulfing candle that moves away from the block, upon the retest of that order block, this is where you're looking to sell and continue price down. How this essentially works is what you'll have is you'll have, like I said, shorting at the low or buying at the high, where there's new money, new sellers coming in who are on the wrong side of the market after the engulfing candle happens. And so by the time it comes back to test their position, they realize, okay, I'm wrong. My bias is off. I need to close my short, and now I want to reverse my position essentially. And what that does is it just adds more fuel to the upward move, and vice versa. You have buyers getting aggressive at the highs, engulfing candle down, and buyers are like, oh crap, I am trapped. And so they're waiting to get out of their position. And once they get that opportunity to get out, they're going to reverse their position, and it just adds more fuel to the downside. All right. So as I stated, I take the rectangle tool when I mark the order blocks from the body of the candle, not the wicks. So then you may be thinking, well, why in this example just up here do you have them taken from the wicks? I take them from the wicks when only when there is no body to the candle. So here you just see that the body of the candle is a flat line. So in this case, I'm not going to just take the order block from a flat line. I might as well just put a horizontal on it if I'm going to do that. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wicks. But this only goes for small candles. Small candles. Now, if the candle is, if the candle just happens to be like, big like that, really long, I don't take those. You'll get an example of what I mean when we get into the charts on the time frames. So let's go over to the monthly time frame, and let's start with how I mark them out on my chart. Okay, now we're on the monthly time frame. What you want to have for identifying the order blocks is going to be your volume. So I have mine down here. You can go into your indicators, just go down to volume. If you don't have it, add it on your chart, because you're going to want to use the volume to help you identify these order blocks. So just like the example had shown, essentially what we got is we have a block. Let's say it's bearish, a bearish order block, where buyers got aggressive at the high, and then you have an engulfing candle that takes price down. Engulfing candle that takes price to the downside. So in order to identify this correctly, what you're going to want is you're going to want to identify if the volume aligns with you wanting to, so essentially you want the volume to confirm whether or not the order block you're looking at is valid or not. So what we want to see when we're identifying the order blocks, let's move this up so that this zoom icon doesn't get in the way. What you want to see is, like in the example in the presentation, you want to see that buyers getting aggressive at the high, that block, and then you want to see engulfing candles moving in the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going to place it at the body, and now I'm going to label that with a monthly rectangle. Okay, if you guys watch the horizontal support and resistance video, it's the same colors that I use for the horizontal support and resistance are essentially the same colors that I use for my order blocks. So you can save them, you can choose to create your own colors. It's 100% up to you, and whatever you choose to do as far as labeling your chart. So I don't have one for the hourly, so whatever you choose to put for the hourly, I mean, like I said, it's completely up to you. I guess for the sake of an example, we will do it like this. We'll go with red, okay? Let's just go with red for the hourly, and actually we'll just label it hourly. So any hourly time frame that you're on, just label it red, or whatever you like. Okay, so I'll just leave that there for a moment. So in this case, my monthly is here, and it's the same color as my horizontal support. So if we were to go for a color setting on, hey, what's the colors that you use for the different time frame order blocks, watch the horizontal support and resistance video, and you can watch it as we progress here, and you'll see that I'm just using the horizontal support resistance levels that I use. Same ones for the order blocks, okay? Now, let's hide this for a minute, and let's mark out why. Let's look to the volume to see why I chose this order block right here on the monthly time frame. Let's lock it in, and let's do this. So, first things first, I take a trend line tool, and I want to draw it all the way down to my volume. And I take another trend line tool, and I mark it down to my volume. This is just for a visual, all right? And what I'm looking for essentially is I want to see that there were indeed buyers in this candle, which it was green, yes, but I want to see how much volume was in there. Was there high volume? Was there low volume? Because I see the engulfing candles moving away. So then what I do is I take another trend line, and there's a rule here, guys, and we want to see, as price forms the order block, we want to see the engulfing candles move away with increasing volume, and there's a 2 candle minimum. That's the rule. When we have an order block, we at least want to see a 2 candle minimum on the volume bars, 2 candle minimum of price decreasing. So in this case, decreasing, moving away, but volume increasing, 2-bar minimum. Okay, so therefore I think this is a valid order block. I see the buyers at the high, I see the engulfing candles, and I see an increase in volume as price is moving down with the 2-bar minimum rule. All right, let's mark out another one. So I see one right here where I would mark this as a monthly order block. Oops, let me get this more precise. Let's zoom in. So I take it from the body. Remember, always take it from the body. Okay, now I repeat the same process. First of all, why this one? Because remember in the presentation we want to see sellers, which we have, there's our sellers, our block, and then what do we look for after that? Engulfing candles moving away from the block, consolidation, and an order block at the breakout. There's the consolidation right here. There's your consolidation. Yeah, and then there's the sellers. Okay, and after we get the sellers, we get the breakout. So I label this as a monthly order block. Now let's check the volume, because that's what's most important. So here we have our candle where we had our sellers in it, and what kind of volume? So remember, there's a 2-bar minimum when we're looking at the volume that's going to help us identify this order block. So does it meet our criteria where there's 1, 2, and it gives us more, 3, 4, 5. So yes, it does meet the criteria for an order block. This is valid in my opinion, so I will mark that as a monthly order block. All right, let's do one more, because there's not going to be too many. The higher the time frame you go, you're not going to find them all over the place. You will find them, however, more often on the daily and the 4-hour time frame and the 1-hour time frame, as well as the 30-minute and the 15. So here I see one right down here, but this one we'll leave it here for now, but we will go to a lower time frame to see what kind of follow through we got, because this only gives us one engulfing candle, which did have an increase in volume, but then we get this little pause, sellers, and then we get another increase in volume with another engulfing candle. So let's go over to the weekly time frame. Okay, here we are in the weekly time frame, and we're going to repeat the same process. So before we left the monthly, we had identified that down here this was the order block, but we only had that one engulfing candle. So now whenever we have that one, we can still keep it there as the monthly, but what we do now is we zoom in a little bit to see if there was another order block on the lower time frame. So here's an example of an order block inside of an order block, just like the Russian dolls, right? Dolls inside of dolls, order blocks inside of order blocks. So what we can do is, what we see is, here's our block right here, and then here's our engulfing candles, price moving away, right? So now in this case, we can take this monthly order block and we can minimize it down, because it will also give us a better zone. So let's take this order block, let's put it right on top of this. Let's take the monthly, put it on top of the weekly block, and label it with our weekly color. Now what we want to do is we want to check the volume. Does this meet our requirements for an order block of the 2-bar minimum? 2-bar minimum. All right, guys, don't forget that. 2-bar minimum is what we want to see as far as an increase in volume goes. So here we are. Here's our sellers right there. Now, does this meet our criteria? Let's see. After the breakout of the block, we have our engulfers. And did volume increase? 1, 2, yes, there's our minimum. 1, 2, 3. So we have a 3-bar increase. This is a valid weekly order block. Now, let's mark out another one. We could possibly say that this is going to be one right here, but what we want to see is, we want to see this week increase, because we don't have our 2-bar minimum. So for now, we'll just let that chill. Let's go to this one. This one right here, that's right by price action. So let's label this with a weekly time frame order block color. Now let's check the volume. Lock it in, and let's see. So here we have price coming down to lower levels. We've seen buyers aggressive at the highs. There's our buyer volume for this candle right here, our bearish order block. Does the volume meet our criteria? Let's see, 1, 2, yep, 2-bar increase. That's exactly what we want to see. This would be a valid order block. The easiest thing to do, as this video is for the beginners, the part 2 I will do in this will get into more detail about how to identify different types of order blocks, because there are 3 types. I'll save that for the next video. But as you guys are beginning, start by marking out what's obvious. Just look for that one block, look for those engulfing candles. Start by marking out what's obvious. All right, just like down here, look for that one block before the breakout, look for the engulfing candles, check your volume. Do you have the 2-bar minimum increase? Most of the time you'll say yes, and even more so you'll see more than 2 bars. All right, 2 bars is just the minimum that you want to see. And generally, if you see the 1 bar increase in volume on whatever time frame you're looking at, you can most times go down to a lower time frame and you'll see that increase in the volume bars. So let's mark out one on the weekly, and then we'll switch over to the daily time frame. So what we can do is this. Let's just drop this for the time being, and let's take a quick look. So let's take the all-time high. Remember, we just want to start off, since we're learning. Some of us watching this video are still learning, and we're beginners. So it's best to practice doing what's obvious. Okay, there's a block right here at the all-time high. Buyers got aggressive, engulfing candles move price down. So what we want to do, let's just take our trend line. It helps us identify, and actually let's just keep it up here, and we'll increase that right there. Now let's just guide this. Let's guide this down towards the volume so we can see where our volume bar is that matches the candle. Here's another thing. Sometimes you'll see high volume, sometimes you'll see low volume. The higher the volume in the block, but price still moves in the opposite direction, honestly, that's even better, because it tells you that there was really a lot of buyers up in that area and price still moved away. So those buyers that are trapped, they're definitely going to want to get out of their position. So here's our block. Let's check the volume. Now this one, I would say this is still valid, although this went up 1, decreased, and then up 1 again. But just like I had previously stated, whenever you see something like this where it's a 1-bar increase and then it kind of goes down, or it just kind of just shows 1 bar, generally what you can do is zoom into a lower time frame. So in this case, we'll go and check the daily time frame and see if we have our 2-bar minimum requirement. Okay, now we're on the daily time frame, and this was the weekly order block that we marked from the all-time high. What we can see here is there's an order block, another order block inside of the weekly time frame order block. So what we do now, we take another rectangle tool, we mark out this order block with our daily color of blue. Now remember, we didn't see the increase in volume for our 2-bar minimum on the weekly time frame, so what we can do is check it on the daily time frame. Let's do the same thing. Take our trend line, direct it towards the volume, and there it is. Let's spread this out a little bit so we get a more clear view. And let's see, do we have our 2-bar minimum requirement? There's 1 bar, there's 2 bars. Okay, so oops, sorry about that one. There it is though. We have 1, 2, 2-bar minimum requirement. There it is, 1, 2. So if we go back to the weekly time frame really quick, what we'll see is that it is indeed valid, and there's also 2 order blocks, a weekly and a daily. All right, so let's go ahead and mark out a couple more, then we'll move to the 4-hour time frame and we will wrap it up. Just a heads up, guys, I know that the videos are kind of left a little broad, especially in the first one, but what I'm aiming to do here is to help you to understand horizontal support and resistance first, and just how to identify that, and then with this video help you to identify the order blocks and get proficient with that as well. And then in the next video that I do, I'm going to show you how the horizontal order blocks work together, how the horizontal support resistance and the order blocks work together. So we're going to bring it together, and then I'm also going to introduce you to the different types of order blocks and how you can use them. So let's go look for, oh, I see an order block right there. So remember, when you're starting to practice identifying order blocks, look for the most obvious ones. The most obvious ones that have no interaction with price. Every order block that we zoom into, price has not interacted with it yet. So if price has already done a little dance, made a little love, got down tonight kind of stuff, don't mark it. Just mark what's obvious. So here's an example. Where'd it go? Right there on the daily time frame. So I see buyers got aggressive here, and I see an engulfing candle followed by another engulfing candle. So what I want to do here is I want to mark it out with my rectangle tool. I'm gonna label it with the daily color, right? And then I'm gonna take my trend line and I'm gonna draw it down to the volume, take another trend line, draw it down to the volume bar of this order block, this bearish order block, and then I'm gonna check, does it meet my requirements? So in this case, looky here, we have an increase, decrease, decrease, slight increase, but then a spike down. So just like we done with the weekly order block, which was right here, we had to zoom in a time frame lower, which we went to the daily and saw that here's another order block inside of it, and it meets our requirement of 2-bar minimum. We'll do the same thing for this one. So let's go to the 4-hour time frame. All right, so there's our daily order block right there. Let's get rid of that for now. What we can see is there's a tiny little order block inside of there. Very tiny. And it sat right there. Now this would be an example. Although there is a tiny body, the candle itself is small. So this would be an example of when I would take it from the wicks. Now I'm gonna need to relabel this hourly in red, like that. So there's our 4-hour block that's inside of our daily block. Now let's see if this bar, this block, meets the volume requirement. So we take our trend line tool, draw it down to our volume, take another one, draw it down to our volume, and let's see. I think this satisfies our 2-bar minimum. We see selling, increase, increase. So we have 3 bars of increase. Therefore, that's a valid block. So I don't want to give you guys too much. Excuse me. I don't want to give you guys too much. I want to keep it as simple as possible. This is for the beginners that are inside of the Discord group that are just now developing a foundation for trading. Inside of our Discord group, it's called Foundational Learning Videos. If you guys aren't a part of the Discord and you want to join, it's 100% free. You can join. I'll link the description below, and you guys can come and have a go at learning and maybe start trading. I have videos in there for professional traders, intermediate traders, and now I'm building up the series for the beginners. So I think I'll cut it there. Don't want to make the video too long. Watch this video once, twice, 3 times, and practice identifying the simple, basic, easy order blocks, the ones that are just so clear. Let's go back to our presentation to wrap this up. Okay, so I hope those examples helped you. All you need is a few. Once you see how I identify them by using the volume and by pointing out the obvious ones, you can go to your chart, start practicing, and start identifying these order blocks. I implement these order blocks into almost every single one of my trading strategies that I use. If there's an order block around, I want to use it, whether that's to trade off of it or take a profit at it. And even so as a target, okay? Now in the second video I do on order blocks, it's going to be the different types, and then I'm going to be explaining how I use the horizontal support resistance levels in confluence with the order blocks, okay? Now, just as a quick reminder, we're going to go through this presentation of order blocks and how to correctly identify them. Again, what is an order block? There are a series of candles where institutional money, whales, big traders fill their positions by limit or market orders and reverse the price. I trade the order blocks by taking quick scalps when I have a 15-minute or a 1-hour block, and I guess I should have thrown 30-minute in there as well. But I take profits at 0.5% to 1%. My stop loss goes to my entry immediately after taking profit, and I let the rest of the trade ride to the next target zone, which most of the times will be another order block. So when I want to swing trade or day trade the order blocks, I look at the 4-hour and up to the monthly. So 4-hour, weekly, daily, monthly, okay? I mark them out after I see an engulfing candle or engulfing candles, so one or more than one. And I find the order blocks within the order block. So just like the examples that you've seen from the weekly order block at the all-time high to the daily order block that we had to zoom down to the 4-hour to find if we meet our volume requirement of the 2-bar minimum, A lot of times, guys, if you have a high term time frame order block that you think might just be a solid one, but the volume on that time frame isn't in alignment with the 2-bar volume requirement, then just bump down the time frame and you'll likely find it there. Okay, what makes a strong order block? A strong reversal of price action, large engulfing candle or candles, high volume on the reversal, and then high time frame order blocks are always going to be strong as long as you've identified it correctly, which is why I have that 2-bar minimum requirement for the volume bars. Okay, so change in market structure, consolidation before the order block, deviation away from the order block, and order blocks as swing points and breakouts. Use this as a visual guide on how you want to identify them as you begin to practice. Okay, you want to see the block and then the engulfing candle, block and then the engulfing candle. Start simple, start basic. Again, this is for my beginners. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it truly helps you. If you're already a part of the Discord and you have questions about this, feel free to message me and I will help you out best that I can, and maybe we can even go over some examples together. But until the next video, please start just identifying the most simple and obvious ones that are out there, and you'll start to find them with no problem, and it will make it easier for you to understand and identify the part 2 video of order blocks. All right, that's all I have for you guys. Have a great day. Peace.